What's up, everybody? Matt Moda here with my 3 favorite NFL player props for this Sunday, December 24th of the NFL Week 16 betting slate. If you want Saturday's plays, I have them in another video. You can find it on my YouTube channel. I am recording this before Saturday's games are played, so I don't have any recap from there, but I do have a recap from Thursday Night Football, which wasn't terrible. I had 2 plays for Thursday Night Football. Alvin Kamara over his receiving yards. That did not hit, but I pumped up Kyren Williams to 100 plus rushing yards. That luckily did hit. And because of the odds, I was up 0.11 units of profit from Thursday Night Football. Not breaking the bank by any means, but also we were on a cold streak, so it's nice to have a profitable day. And I'm never going to apologize for making money, even if it is slight. On the year, I started doing these pumped up props in week 7. We are up 16.35 units since that time frame with an ROI of 9.13%. Pumped up props just means I find player props that I like. Instead of taking them at their main line, I pump the numbers up a little bit. The goal here is to get better odds for higher payout, and it's worked out pretty well. As for Sunday, as I mentioned, I have 3 plays for you guys. If you're not already, make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. And let's get into it. So the first play that we're going to go ahead and lock in here is in the Jags versus Bucks game. And we're taking Mike Evans, 100 plus receiving yards at plus 320 odds at DraftKings. So I know I went with Mike Evans last week. And despite the fact that Baker Mayfield threw for a season high in passing yards, by far, he threw for a ridiculous 381 yards. Somehow Mike Evans did not come through for us despite all of that. Obviously, I should have just gone with Baker Mayfield passing yards, but regardless, it was a frustrating turn of events seeing Baker blow up and see that not go to Mike Evans. He did score, Mike Evans did in that game, so at least we had, if anyone took him for a touchdown, that came through. I did not, so I cannot claim victory for that. Once again, another game that I do expect Baker to have a good game. This time, I think it's going to go to Evans. For the same reason I was on Evans last week, this is just such a juicy game for the Bucks in their passing game, which also means their receiving game as well. Last week, Chris Godwin had a season high in receiving yards with 155. That was the second time all year that he's gone over 100. To me, that seems like more of an outlier. And the guess here is that the targets and the yards are going to start to swing back to Mike Evans after that performance, and that it's going to come through for us for this one. As I mentioned, it's just such a juicy matchup against the Jags. They give up a ton of receiving yards. On the entire season, pretty big sample size, they're giving up 254 passing yards per game. That's the 3rd most in the NFL. You look at that number in the past month, just isolate it for the past 4 games. It's even higher at 283 passing yards per game. That's once again the 3rd most in the NFL. Obviously, those passing yards have to go to a receiver as well. And last week, we were on Mike Evans. We were on the right team, just not the right player. Let's hope that Mike Evans can right those wrongs and come through for us tonight for our first play. Next up in the Colts versus Falcons game, we're taking Benjon Robinson, 90 plus rushing yards, plus 310 odds at DraftKings. Now there's a lot of stink, and understandable stink, on the Falcons after last week. I get it, and especially Benjon as well, I should say. Benjon had 11 yards on 7 attempts, with a fumble in what should have been a very plus matchup against the Panthers. The thing is, there's a torrential downpour in that game, so the offenses were gross in general. And again, he did fumble, so it makes a little bit of sense why he was in the doghouse in that game. I'm back in on Benjon in this one. I think he's going to have a good game against the Colts. For starters, Falcons are at home. They're in a dome. Do not need to worry about any weather issues in this one. And prior to last week, taking out the Panthers game, Benjon had started to get a lot more work, which was very encouraging. Heading into last week's game, Benjon had scored in 3 of 4 games and in 4 of 6. Now, 2 weeks ago against the Bucks, he did not have a good rushing game. The Bucks have a very stout rush defense, and they have a very bad pass defense. Desmond Ridder threw for over 300 yards in that game, so it makes sense why Benjon didn't come through. Prior to that, he had hit 90 plus rushing yards in 2 of 3 games. And in that 3-game stretch, here are his carries: 18, 16, and 22. He was getting the ball a ton. Then he played a rough defense. Then he just had a bad game and bad weather. I expect him to once again get that type of work in this one. And against the Colts, that should work out really well in our favor. For starters, the Colts play at a very, very fast pace. A lot of their games go over the total because there are a lot of plays just in general, which means a lot of stats, which means a lot of scoring. Not only do the Colts play at a fast pace, but they have a pretty bad rush defense. They are 23rd in terms of DVOA and run defense specifically, which isn't horrible. That's still bad. And they allow 127.4 rushing yards per game. That is 26th in the NFL. And the reason for that difference is because of the pace that they play at. So after a gross week for Benjon, I'm betting on him getting the workload that he was getting prior to the Bucs game. If he does, he should be able to come through and get to 90 yards, cashing this play for us. That's our second play. Last up, third and final pick of the slate in the Cardinals versus Bears game. DJ Moore, 100 plus receiving yards, plus 320 odds at DraftKings. Last play of the slate, backing another receiver, this time in DJ Moore, who we have backed a lot this year. The reason why, he's just been so good with Justin Fields at quarterback in games that Fields has started and finished. So basically you're taking out the game in which he got hurt. DJ Moore has cleared 100 or more receiving yards in 4 of 9 games, again, that Fields has started and finished. And he has one game with 96 yards, so he was right there. Now, DJ Moore had a weird week 1 in which he was only targeted twice, and he had 26 receiving yards, something like that. Since then, he's been targeted at least 6 times in every single game, has double-digit targets 3 times, in another 2 games with 5 targets. So it is the fact that over half his games that Fields has started and finished, DJ Moore has 9 plus targets. And if you take out the weird week 1, again, where he only had 2 targets, clearly the outlier, he has 100 plus receiving yards in exactly half of the games, his last half games that he has played with Justin Fields. For this game, another situation where we are targeting a very juicy matchup against the Cardinals, who are just terrible. According to DVOA, they are the worst, literally the 32nd ranked defense in the NFL, with the second worst passing defense as well. And if you look even more into their defense, they have the 3rd worst defense, specifically guarding number 1 receivers in the NFL. Obviously, DJ Moore is very clearly the number 1 receiver for the Bears. 5 times this year have the Cardinals allowed a top receiver go over 100 yards, with some monster blow-up performances in there as well. 149 from Tank Dell. We were in on Tank Dell that game. We had him over 100 plus receiving yards. Very nice play. 139 from Amari Cooper. We were in on him in that game as well. 148 to Cooper Kupp. Not in on him in any of these other games, but still. 192 to Jamar Chase. 148 to Brandon Ayuk. DJ Moore has absolute blow-up potential in this one. Hopefully, he can get us at least to 100 or more receiving yards, cashing our third and final pick of the evening. And that's all we got. If we get one of these 3 plays to cash, we will at least be profitable. But after such a cold streak, let's hope we can get all 3. If you are riding with me, make sure to comment and let me know. All that good stuff. Remember also to like, subscribe. I appreciate everybody for watching, and have a good one.